Alright guys, it is Kieran from Red Devil Weekly and we are back, of course, to preview yet another Manchester United fixture. But before we get into it, as you'll notice, we've got a very special guest on the channel. It's my pleasure to introduce Connor, otherwise known as YankTalkinSmack. His link will be in the description down below. So if you haven't already, make sure you do check out his channel for Manchester United content if you're a United fan, and also some other general sports content that I'm sure you'll like as well. But Connor, thank you so much for watching and not watching. Thanks for coming on and making your debut on the channel. How are you doing today?
Yeah, cheers. I'm doing great. Having a final day off of work, working 5 days straight, finally getting my day off. But like you said, I'll have some United stuff up very soon. I've been with work. I've been getting off super late, working like 10-hour shifts. So it's been hard to make videos, but I'm gonna have most likely about 6 videos out in the next couple days. I'll be doing some United videos, of course, because that's my main area, and then I'll also have some Formula One as we're getting closer. This weekend is the start of the Formula One season, so I'm super pumped. Going to have a couple of videos out on that. And then also we have Six Nations Rugby going on right now. Just had 2 matches today, and I'll be doing my preview and my post-match on the games that have happened and the Scotland game going on tomorrow. So really excited to put out some new videos.
Yeah, sounds good. Loads going on. So as I said, guys, make sure you do check out his channel in the description down below. Excuse me, in the description down below. But I see a few of you guys have got in the live chat already. Daz has joined us as well. Thanks for joining. He says, "Evening lads, tough game in prospect, especially given how we played against Milan. No Lingard is a bonus." Well, we'll get straight into that. As well. Adam's joined us. Thanks for joining as well. Adam, always good to see you. He says, "Wilder has officially left Sheffield United." Yeah, obviously the announcement's been made. That again. Yeah, I think so as well. Even though we're not a Sheffield United channel, I think, to be fair, we both agree it's not a great decision. I think a lot of football fans, football fans think that it was harsh.
I think it was. It's one of two things. It's a mix of both. It's either too late or too early. It's too early in the fact that you let him finish out the season. We are into March now, and the season ends in 2 months. Let him at least go till the end of the year. Fine, fire him at the end of the year. Bring in a new person who can have that time to get or. Fire him when you guys are, on 3 points, battling relegation in the middle of December. Give him a transfer window to, like Ole did, had a transfer window when he first joined on to kind of come into his team, maybe make a signing or 2, and really make that team his own for half a season. But doing it when we only have about 9 games left, I think is poor, especially with the fact that I think Chris Wilder's a solid coach. I think he's a top-tier coach. He's going to find work really, really quick. And I think Sheffield United, in my opinion, is going to come to really regret letting him go.
I think so as well. I think it was a bit, they have jumped the gun a little bit because, I think some people have short memories. Like Sheffield United last season were a real force to be reckoned with. Exactly, they finished 8th. They were very, very good. So the fact he overachieved there, I feel like he definitely deserved more time, or at least more faith from their owners. But obviously they saw it differently. Fewer people want to welcome.
Crisis right now. They've had how many people out all year, and yet you're going to go.
Of course, yeah.
Let them get a healthy team. It's the same with Ole. We had so many injuries last year. We didn't do as well this year. We've had way less injuries, even though we're facing a huge crisis right now that I'm not going to complain about because we're not Liverpool. But Sheffield's had a huge crisis all year, including one of their best defenders being out pretty much the entire year. And you're going to base how you think this man is as a coach for your team off of this season. I just think it's bogus.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Kobe's joined us. Says, all right, Connor and Kieran, how are you doing, Kobe? Thanks for joining. Box has also joined us as well. How are you doing, Box? And also Brendan's joined us. Thanks for joining, Brendan. Appreciate it. And Jamie as well. Good to see you, Jamie. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in. Really do appreciate it. And we'll get straight into the preview very, very shortly. And LSR Freedings Live. Thanks for joining, Owen. Appreciate it. He's saying Wilder has them in League One. Shocking from Sheffield United. But not surprised, to be honest. I tell you what, with the modern kind of cutthroat nature of modern owners and things like that, in some ways I'm not surprised, but I'm almost annoyed on his behalf, because really, if I was in his position and done what he did with Sheffield United, I wouldn't be very happy about being let go that soon. But obviously they're going to have to deal with that themselves, and potentially they could fall down if they do go down, which does look likely. If they don't come straight back up, they might have to look at their decision making. But we'll start with the West Ham preview, and the big thing that obviously someone mentioned, I can't remember who, is that on the West Ham side of things, let's get into that, and Jesse Lingard won't be playing for them, obviously on loan from Manchester United in the league. You can't play against your parent club. But I want to ask you, Connor, first of all, what you've seen of West Ham this season, what do you think will be the biggest threats that they pose to us?
Oh, Souček. Dude is, from what I've seen, Rice is definitely not a player we have to really worry about going forward. I'm going to knock on my wood table as hard as I can, hoping that's not going to come back and bite me in the ass. But Souček in their midfield has been phenomenal. A lot of people have been comparing Souček and McTominay as two guys who have not been big names, but this year, attacking-wise and just playing-wise, have really broken out and had breakout seasons. He's been a huge threat for them going forward, and he's a guy who, when he gets in that box, knows how to finish. I think with Lingard, who's been their big attacking person right now, funny enough, a United player being West Ham's biggest attacking player, with him out, I do think that leaves Souček as their biggest attacking threat. And, of course, we can't discount the fact that they have a very solid keeper between the sticks.
Yeah, 100%. I think Souček's the one, especially from set pieces. We're so bad from set pieces. He's obviously got a great record scoring from set pieces. It's not a great mix, to be honest. It's not a great mix for us.
Going up against set piece specialists, when you're terrible at set pieces, like when we go up against Southampton with James Ward-Prowse, just as looking for disaster.
Of course, yeah. Hopefully, as you said, touch wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But it's one of those things where it seems inevitable when you're watching United that we're going to concede from a set piece. We did against AC Milan. It's the problem we've been having all season. But yeah, I think Souček's the main one. But I do think Lingard not being in is a bonus for us, really. And I think when we kind of let go of Lingard, I wasn't thinking I'd be saying that really, but actually Lingard has done really well for West Ham. He got their Player of the Month, and arguably should have got Premier League Player of the Month if it wasn't for Gundogan as well. So he's done very, very well for them. So I'm happy we're not coming up against him. Naveen's joined as well. I will
say I called it when he went on loan to West Ham. I said Lingard's going to get his time to really show his stuff. I knew. Last year when he was getting all the crap, I tried to stay away from it because I knew what was going on in his personal life with his family, which I'm not going to speak to in-depthly and talk about it because that's his stuff, his personal crap. I'm not really going to get into it. But I knew that was a big reason we were seeing a lot of what was happening with him. And I knew once that went through, the tide passed, and he got over his COVID-19 as well, this time for him to go to West Ham was his rejuvenation season. And I knew he was going to – honestly, I'll agree with you. I didn't think he was going to be this good. I didn't think he was going to go and get a hat trick in his first game or be their player of the month. But I knew he was going to start showing his stuff, which is why I said he could easily be involved in a deal to West Ham where I think he's worth about $30 million because that's truly how much I think he's worth. Before I even saw him go off like this, I know he's a solid player. He's not, a young player anymore. He's 27, 28. He's getting into the bulk of his prime. But I think he definitely had a lot more to offer than fans thought he did. And he's really showing what he has to offer now at West Ham. I'm really, really happy to see it. And I wouldn't be against keeping him next summer as some depth options for center attacking mid to give Bruno a rest or, rotate with Donny van de Beek in case, heaven forbid, Bruno goes down next year.
I'll tell you what, if he keeps playing like this, if he can do that for the whole of next season and be consistent like that, I wouldn't mind him at all in the squad. I just want to say welcome to Rich as well. Thanks for joining, Rich. You haven't missed anything, mate. Trust me, we've just got started. As we always say in Red Devil Weekly, you can never be late. And Naveen has joined us as well. It says Chelsea dropping points, but still need a win to extend the lead from fourth place. We do. Realistically, the top four is so up and down. The Premier League has been so up and down. And the fact we're still only 6 points inside the top four, we still need to pick up wins, and that's why I said in the title, is this a must-win game? And I'll be asking Connor in just a second, and you guys can leave your thoughts on that in the live chat, of course, and we'll get round to all of your comments. A few more here. Owen says McTominay low-key player of the season, up there with Shaw and Fernandes. First of all, don't say Fernandes on this stream. Don't say Fernandes. Don't disrespect him like that.
That would be definitely my top three for player of the season this year. Shaw, and it makes me happy because my two favorite players at United are McTominay and Shaw. It's probably my favorite player for the last couple of years at United has been Shaw. So I'm hugely happy to see what's going on. I think we are honestly a couple pieces away from just taking people behind the woodshed and bossing this league and bossing Europe. I think, honestly, we're a defensive mid and a right winger, and maybe get Maguire a center back pairing, or hope that Bailly just stays healthy for a while. And if we can get that, I think we're honestly going to start bossing Europe.
I hope so. I think injuries has been a factor for us this season. I'm not crying about it because obviously, again, as I said, we're not Liverpool, but obviously, if we can keep those sort of players fit, if we can keep Bailly fit, if we can play him next to Harry Maguire, if we can keep the squad together for a long period of time, there's no reason why we can't go for that sort of thing. Keep your comments coming in. Box says his starting 11 is Henderson, Williams, Tuanzebe, Lindelof, Telles, Fred, McTominay, Shaw, Greenwood, Diallo, and James. I mean, that is an 11 right there, which is it seems so second string.
I never would have expected to ever see that 11 going into the year, but I do think this is a must-win game because I do think we still have a chance to go and win that title. Until they confirm City as champions, I'm not giving up on the fact that I think United can come back and win this title. Until they say City has been confirmed, there's no coming back, there's no way they can lose it, I'm going to keep my head high. We have 2 games in hand now with them playing Fulham, and you never know. We've seen very big, shocking collapses. I mean, just look at Liverpool right now. They could collapse like Liverpool and out of nowhere, and we can end up having a run for the title. So until they really confirm that, I think anything's on the table. I do think that side I don't think is very far off, in my opinion. I do think we're going to see a lot of people we've never seen before. Of course, I don't think we'll see De Gea back. Even though he is back in Manchester, we won't see him back yet because he still has to fill the quarantine. I would like to see Williams in this game. I think he's been playing well when he's gotten his chances, and it's a time to give Wan-Bissaka a rest. Going into Milan away and Leicester away in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, which is what we really need to be focusing on right now, is getting through in Europe and getting through in the FA Cup. Tuanzebe and Lindelof, I just don't see happening, purely because I don't see Maguire getting a rest ever. He came out and said he got a rest against Real Sociedad in the second leg, and that's the only rest he'll need for the rest of the year. So I don't think we'll see him getting any more rest. I think it's either going to be a Maguire-Lindelof, or we might see another Maguire-Bailly because they've been doing, of course, so well together. I do think we see Shaw instead of Telles, just purely on a defensive note. He's just such a good defensive player. And going up against the likes of West Ham, who's been my surprise of the season for sure, my surprise, like Sheffield United was last year, my surprise of the season this year, he's going to be crucial in helping tame that offense. I do think that's probably what we're going to see in the midfield, although I really wish we could see McTominay and Van de Beek. I think they would just be such a sexy pairing next to each other because they both are just so great going forward. McTominay and Van de Beek, in my opinion, are very underrated defensively as well. I think they honestly, defensively, could do well. And what we see with Van de Beek and McTominay that we don't see with Fred is passing ability. One thing for me that I just don't like is Fred's passing ability is just not there. He gives the ball away too much. He runs himself into trouble too much. And I don't see him being, I think anybody else is kind of an improvement passing-wise on him. And then attacking, I hope we don't see Rashford. I swear, I hope we don't see Rashford coming because I don't think he should. I don't think we should try and rush him back. He's got an ankle injury and a shoulder that's going to need to be operated on in the coming, off season. I hope we see Bruno, of course, in his center attacking midfield position. But I like that front three of Diallo, Greenwood, and James. I think now's the time for Diallo to get his shining start, to lead the line. Martial's got a knock. Rashford's got a knock. What better of a time than against West Ham to let those three just ball out? And that gives us an average striking line of 20. The average age for that front three is 20 years old, and if that doesn't show how much we believe in the youth as a club of United standards, how much we believe in the academy, and how much we believe in bringing youth through the system, if that doesn't show you that, then I don't know what will.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, even though that front three tomorrow probably will be quite inexperienced, as you said, probably an average age of 20. Actually, it does show, as you said, kind of the kind of history and the nature of Manchester United. Once again, Mason Greenwood could be the striker leading the line, and he's only 18 years old. It's one of those things where we now see that once again the academy of Manchester United coming to fruition, and even though realistically we've kind of been forced into playing that front three, it's an exciting proposition, and obviously any chance to see Diallo play any more football is obviously a good thing in my opinion. Dazza says hope Bailly starts but won't happen. Hendo, Fridge, Flop, and Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, McSauce, Fred, Bruno, Greenwood, James, and I'm not sure for striker, maybe Diallo, but I wouldn't risk it. To be honest, Dazza, I think you'll go Greenwood at striker. I think you'll put if it is going to be Greenwood, James and Diallo, I think it'll be Greenwood as striker and then James and Diallo as the wingers. We've seen him play Greenwood as a number 9 before.
They're natural positions for that too. James is a natural left mid, Diallo's a natural right winger, and we see Greenwood really came up the ranks as a striker, like we see with Joe Hugel now and with Charlie McNeil now, both strikers through and through. We just had Greenwood had to be converted to a right winger because there's nowhere else for him to go.
Oh yeah, exactly. But it seems that Ole also is one of those players, one of those managers that always talks about having a fluid front three where all 3 of the players, are able to play in each position. He seems to quite like doing that, so he's probably done the same thing with Greenwood. But in the academy, he was definitely a number 9. But again, it's very difficult when you have got Rashford, you've got Martial as well. It's very difficult to kind of break into that number 9 spot. Big Rom's joined us, by the way. Thanks for joining, Big Rom. Long time no see, buddy. Hope you're doing fantastic. Thanks for joining. He says Henderson, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, Fred, McTominay, James, Greenwood, and Amad Diallo. 80% of the team isn't good enough, but we'll have to make do. I have to say, that is actually the predicted lineup I was going to go with, actually. The one thing that obviously is a little bit frustrating is that centre-back partnership. We kind of know that Lindelof and Maguire just doesn't work, but if I had to predict the centre-back partnership, I reckon Ole will go back to that. I think, that's my predicted lineup, really, if I had to make one. So, great minds think alike on that one. But what do you make of Big Rom here saying 80% of that team on the screen isn't good enough? Would you agree with that, or do you think he's being harsh? Do you think, maybe he's being not harsh enough? What do you reckon?
No, I agree. There's definitely a good solid amount of that team that if I could pick a team, I wouldn't have them there. I think right now Henderson is still much on the verge. I do like that he's getting this run of games. I feel like he should get a continued run of games to really strut his stuff. But I think it's good still having De Gea, which is why I don't think either of them should be sold, giving him that time to learn under a guy who at one point was the best goalkeeper in the entire world. De Gea, in his time when he had that big 14-save match against Arsenal, was the best goalkeeper hands down in the entire world. Having time to learn under him, even though we can say all we want about, by 23, De Gea was already this, giving Henderson that time to grow is going to be crucial. Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Maguire, and probably McTominay are the only ones I could really see that I continue to have in my starting lineup. Greenwood, I think, as well. James, I think, is a good rotation player. Amad Diallo, I love him, but he's still too young. It's too much pressure to try and put him as a starter now. Fred, I honestly would like to sell this summer, even if we do have a loss. Lindelof, I think, is a decent defender, but he's not as good physically as he should be. And alongside Maguire, they're just not good together. They're like vinegar and water. They don't mix. And it shows time and time again. We'll have maybe 1 or 2 good games from them in the space of 3 months.
I think you're fair. I think a lot of what you said there. I think especially with Diallo, obviously to have him as starter. Realistically, that's just because Ole can't pick anyone else with Rashford and Martial being out. But I think as a fan, obviously we want to see exciting talents like Diallo come through. A lot of hype, but realistically to kind of thrust him into the starting 11. It is a bit dangerous, obviously it gives him that experience of playing, proper first team football. But then again, it's like, do you really want to put that much pressure on him too quickly? I think that's a very, very good point. Kobe here says, I heard Maguire wants United to buy English-born or English-speaking centre-back. If he wants to play with an English-speaking centre-back, why doesn't he tell Ole to start Tuanzebe? I've heard this. I've seen this on social media. I'm not sure how true it is, but I have seen this.
That dude has probably as many IQ points as as a freaking plastic egg. Anything that comes out of his mouth, I don't end up really believing. I don't think he said that at all. I think that's just Castles trying to get clicks, like we see a lot of people like to do with United, just making them as much as they can to get clicks. We saw it earlier this year with a supposed quarrel between Bruno and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Bruno came out himself and said, "No, that's bullshit, fam. That's not what's going on at all. There's no bad beef between us." I think it's another case of Duncan Castles showing how little IQ he actually has, and just trying to come out with a story to come out with a story, because he doesn't do much. This is his entire life, is trying to diss on United and try and make up false stories.
Well, yeah, I think it when I read it, I kind of thought it seemed a bit far fetched, but obviously you never know. But I don't believe it really. I don't believe it for a second. Box says fans need to stop moaning about players not being good enough. Would you have a team of Hazard, Ozil, Sanchez, Di Maria, Pogba just because of their names? I mean,
first of all, don't even bring up Di Maria or Sanchez. Get both of those snakes out of my club.
That's true.
I never want to see their faces in a United jersey ever again. First of all, but for me, it's not because of their names. I want players. Zakaria is who I want as our defensive midfielder next year. He's not a big name you're going to hear a lot of, but I honestly think he's one of the best defensive midfielders in the world right now. Just solid all around, and that's why I want him at the club. I think he'll fit well with Ole's, counter-attacking system, and I just think he's a very good player. He's not a big name. You don't hear his name come up in every single conversation when you're talking about the best, but he's very, very good, and that's why I like him. So for me, it's I don't need them to be a big name. I don't need them to be in the FIFA top 11 every year, but I think they should be solid players that put in a shift and are able to produce consistently. And with a lot of our team, we just don't see consistent performances.
Yeah. Oh no, that's 100%. I think sometimes you have to be honest and look at the kind of players you've got, and I think especially if we're going to be fighting for league titles, you have to be brutally honest at times, because realistically, our club's not a charity. The players that aren't performing well enough for the shirt shouldn't be there, and that's just fact, really. I think most United fans would probably agree with that. But we've gone through a little bit of our starting 11s. I just want to ask you, Connor, do you have any sort of fixed starting 11, or are you still kind of weighing that up in your head?
For me, I think, and this happens with Ole, and I say this every time I put out an 11 on a podcast or even on my own channel. I'll put out an 11, but I don't ever think it's going to happen, because Ole's mind doesn't work on the same wavelength as United fans does. And sometimes that's great, because Ole, in my opinion, I think is honestly a genius. And he doesn't get the production from the players on the pitch that he should be getting. I mean, we saw it with Maguire finding a way to not score against Milan, James missing an obvious chance and just not putting away our dinners. I think he's a lot better tactically, and I think a lot better of a football mind than people think he is. He just doesn't get the performances on the pitch. But sometimes what he thinks is right is very, very bad. And one example I can give for sure is partnering Lindelof and Maguire next to each other every single freaking week.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's not the worst example, to be fair, to use to back up your point, because it's the most frustrating thing, really, when we clearly see that Bailly and Maguire is our best centre-back partnership, and constantly we end up seeing Lindelof and Maguire together, and you see Bailly being played in the kind of dead rubber games or games that don't mean as much, and then almost resting Victor Lindelof. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but in terms of what we need on the football pitch, the idea that we're resting Lindelof and playing Bailly in games that don't matter, it's mental to me, to be fair. But that's the way Ole's mind works. But I do agree, it's very difficult to predict an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 11. There's always surprises in there. There's always surprises. But yeah, keep getting your comments in, by the way, guys. If you want to put in your predicted 11s, please do get them in. Tanzini, has joined us. Thanks for joining, Tanzini. Always good to see you. He says Pogba has to go. Wow, that's a very good, a very interesting introduction to the stream. Straight into it. What are your thoughts on that, Connor?
That's like biting on a lemon for me. No, I definitely had a time when the comments first came out, from his piece of shit agent. I'm not even going to say his name because it makes me want to vomit. But when those first comments came out, I definitely was kind of on the fence. But if he really wanted to go, he wouldn't be performing. He wouldn't be asking to try and be in the team. He wouldn't be working his ass off to get this team wins every time he goes out. He wouldn't be performing like he does. I've seen players who don't want to be at a club. They stop performing. If you really want out, you're going to force your way out by not playing well or asking not to play. And for me, with how well he's been playing, and I honestly think he wants to be here, you need to keep – if you can keep him, keep him. But if he really wants to leave, then fair enough, sell him. I just don't think it's something where we need to force him out. I don't think forcing any players out is a good idea. I think if they want to go, let them go. But if they want to stay and fight, unless they're just really not good enough, then you keep them. But Pogba, obviously, as we know, is good enough to be a Manchester United player. And I think my favorite midfield is him and McTominay together, or getting a defensive midfielder and having Pogba alongside him, which will really give Pogba that chance to move forward and attack and be more free like he wants to be.
Yeah, I think, for me, one thing I would say about Pogba is, obviously you had the kind of all the controversy and that around him, and that obviously wasn't ideal, but I actually think this season, if you actually objectively look at his performances, he's been probably one of our best midfield players, and obviously he's been injured, and I think we have seen his absence against teams like Crystal Palace, where when Bruno Fernandes doesn't have a great game, it's we don't actually create that much, and we do struggle to actually create clear-cut chances without him. So I think we do see, and we do feel his absence when he's not there. So you have to say that, in my opinion. You have to give credit where credit's due. Some people say that he's kind of he's not worth the hassle, if you know what I mean. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy that comes with him, and his performance on the pitch don't match that. But sometimes actually, this season, after
Fulham, we won 1-0 off of a goal by Pogba that was absolutely phenomenal. And nobody else was doing anything that entire game. And he pulls out, a goal of the season contender. And that's the one goal that we get for the game winner. It's why I'm a big fan of McTominay, because for how much you want to diss him, a lot of games we would not win if it wasn't for him. I mean, the West Ham game I can look at earlier this year, he had the one goal in added time that sent us through. He had 2 goals against Leeds that started the big thrashing. He had he's been scoring left and right this year. But I've got to head off now. I did say that I was going to be on just for a little bit, unfortunately. But hopefully I can, finish up with some stuff and maybe be in the comments in a little bit. But I've got to head off now.
Hey, no worries. Thanks very much for coming on, Connor. I really do appreciate it. I want to make sure everyone checks out his channel in the link in the description down below. Brilliant stuff on there. If you haven't already, make sure you do check out YankTalkinSmack. Great stuff on there. Link in the description down below. But thanks for coming on, Connor. Really do appreciate your time, and you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, cheers for having me. Have a great day, everybody.
No worries. No worries. Well, that's Connor. Make sure you check him out in the description down below. Really good stuff on there if you want more of his American tones. But Mia's joined us as well. Thanks for joining. Really do appreciate it. Loads of comments coming in. Keep them coming in. And also, hit that like button if you haven't already. Really do appreciate all of your support on the channel. We're also only 2 subscribers away from 870 subscribers, so anything you guys can do to help us out with that, well, that's liking the stream, sharing it, that would be absolutely fantastic. So let's see what we've got. Adam says Henderson, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, the 2 dickheads in the field, Bruno, Amad, Telles at left mid, and Greenwood. I tell you what, I actually saw a comment from Big Rom up earlier saying, maybe we should play Telles as the left wing. I can't remember where he actually said it, but I did see that he put it. But yeah, I think so. You're not alone on that one, Adam. Actually, maybe putting Telles on the left-hand side, because I think defensively he's not the best, but in terms of going forward, wouldn't be the worst thing. Rich says Maguire should be more worried about getting into the team if we buy quality defenders. I mean, that's true. Listen, I'm not sure how true it is, the rumours about Maguire wanting an English-speaking centre-back. I'm not sure how true that is, but I agree that realistically, the fact he's the captain probably does protect him a little bit, but if we do start bringing in decent centre-backs, if they turn out to be very, very good and perform well, Maguire could end up potentially being phased out a little bit. So that's something he's got to look at. But I think as the captain, really the best thing, the thing that obviously most United fans wanted to do is actually just wanting the best for the team. And even that means if he's in the team or not. As a captain, you just got to want the best for the team. So, but I'm not sure if modern football's like that, really. Let's see. Brennan says Haaland would be the sentimental purchase for Ole. It would be, obviously, former Mulder player. Ole was obviously manager when he was at Mulder. And I think that was the one thing that was, I was hoping for. The one bit of hope I was holding on to really with the Haaland thing was that he had worked under Solskjaer before, but I just don't see it happening, guys. I just don't. It seems too good to be true, and usually when things are too good to be true, they probably are. Box says Haaland built like Ibrahimovic, explosiveness of Ronaldo, left foot of Messi, and confidence of El Phenomenon. He's brilliant. You can't lie. He's been absolutely fantastic for Dortmund, and it's one of those things where he would cost a lot of money, but he would be a class act up front. He'd be. I mean, I've seen some people saying you struggle in the Premier League. He would kill it in the Premier League. I've got no doubt about it. He would kill it in the Premier League. Unfortunately, I see him going to a club like Chelsea or Liverpool. I just don't see him coming to us. But hopefully I'm wrong, because I think he'd be a fantastic option as a number 9. Mia, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. I did see Boroughs win. I did see Middlesbrough winning. Obviously, Daz is going to be happy about that. It was a pretty decent win for them, actually. I think it was a 3-0 win. So fair play to them. Fair play. Dazza also says, defensively worse than last season, but more clinical in front of goal. IMO, Bayern were better last season, in fairness. Oh, I thought you were talking about United there, sorry. Right. Big Rom says, do you think that Maguire will get more exposure of how bad he is when we bring in a decent centre-back? It's a good question, actually, because I think probably, one thing is for sure is that, when Maguire plays next to a decent centre-back, like an Eric Bailly, he actually doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure if you guys would agree, but I actually think when Maguire plays next to Bailly, he looks like he's having a decent game. But I think if we do bring in decent centre-backs, and then you kind of, we do a bit of experimenting in terms of the pairings, I think that's the only real way we'll see how good Maguire really is. And we're only really seeing him next to Lindelof and next to Bailly. We saw him next to Nzabi against PSG, and actually that worked out pretty well. I don't think he's an absolutely terrible defender, but I think, if you brought in other decent centre-backs, it could definitely expose him. Let's see, keep comments coming in. Adam says, I want players who want to give everything for Man United. I think every United fan can agree with that. Every United fan can fully get on board with that. Does says Class of 96 won the Papa John's trophy tonight. Yeah, Salford City obviously won the trophy, but I think tomorrow's final is actually the final for this year. So they'll pretty well hold the trophy for they'll hold the trophy for about 24 hours. So hopefully they enjoy that trophy, because they're not having it for long. Big Rom also asked, do you genuinely think Haaland will do any better than our number 9 right now? He wouldn't get 20 chances a season, let alone 20 goals. There are bigger problems in our team. I think I have to say it's a fair point. If you look at our chance creation, 100%, we don't create enough chances in certain games. We do find it difficult, and the likes of Rashford and Martial, even though we have criticised them a little bit this season for not being clinical enough, how many real clear-cut chances do they get in a game? Yes, I think all of our forwards this season haven't been clinical enough, but I think you do make a point that just because we have a decent number 9 doesn't mean that they'll be able to magic goals from thin air. So I think it's a fair point. Because realistically, the players we've got up front aren't terrible. I know some people will have you believe that they're terrible, but they're not. Martial, Rashford, they're not terrible players. They might not be in the best of form, but they're not terrible players. And I think if you give them enough chances in the game, they will take them and we will win. And I've always said that Manchester United is the type of team that if we create enough chances, we will win every game of football we play. Because we can be clinical on our day, but we can also miss 20 or 30 shots on goal. It's as simple as that. We're not consistent enough in front of goal. So I think Haaland would bring that, but I also do agree with you, Big Rom, that we don't create enough chances, and that could be a problem. And I also think there are bigger problems in the team. I think centre-back for me is a big worry. Even CDM, I think potentially we need another CDM in there, because Matic isn't getting any younger. So that's what I'd say on that. Let's see. Naveen says Declan Rice, Sancho this summer. That wouldn't be a bad transfer window, to be fair. Sancho coming in, Declan Rice has looked decent. We'll see a lot more of Declan Rice tomorrow, of course, when we play West Ham. And he's someone who, again, had a decent game against us in the FA Cup game. He won 1-0. And I'm sure he'll have another decent game because he's actually been very, very good this season. Probably candidate for a young player of the season if he even fits that. I'm not sure if he's too old for that. Yeah, I think he's still 21, isn't he? 21, maybe 22. So he's maybe just getting a little bit old for that. But he's been good. He's been very, very good. Kobe says we need a CDM, centre-back, right wing, and maybe a striker and a right-back. So 5 different positions there. Yeah, I think there are definitely weak links in the team. I think there are definitely positions where we're now looking quite strong. I think in terms of our full-backs, we are looking pretty strong. But I think there are definitely still weak links in our team. And I think especially with the injuries you've got, they're starting to show. We were top of the league at one point this season, and obviously that's a fact, you can't deny that. But at the same time, we had a period of the season where we didn't really have any big injuries, and now we're starting to see some of the cracks appear when we do have those injuries, and we're seeing that our depth is being exposed. So I think we do need to look at bringing in, at least 2 or 3 players. If we're really serious about challenging for a league title, we need to look at bringing in those sort of players. Box says Haaland is levels above Martial. That might be a controversial take, but I think in terms of an out-and-out number 9, obviously the numbers would suggest yes. And in terms of future as well, you've got to say that he's still very, very young. Martial's still relatively young, to be fair, only 26. So he's still got a lot of time to improve. But Haaland's obviously the flavour of the month right now. And he's got a very high ceiling, Haaland, there's no doubt about that. Naveen says Maguire is not captain material, first of all. I think that's what a lot of people say about Harry Maguire, is that even if he's not the worst defender, in terms of his leadership, it has been lacking. And I have to agree, in terms of leadership, it has been lacking a little bit from Harry Maguire. I mean, the amount of times we concede some sloppy set pieces, and I think for me, the biggest thing was that Istanbul goal we conceded. That one where basically Denver Bar's got a free run at goal. Who is organising that back line? I think Ollie's got to take blame, and I think Maguire's got to take blame. And for me, I think, you have to look at in leadership. I think even if you just take away from his stats as an actual player, I think leadership, in terms of leadership, it's not brilliant. We haven't seen Maguire the leader too much, which I'm surprised. I thought the one thing he would be able to bring is leadership qualities, but I'm not sure we've seen the best of Harry Maguire's leadership qualities, but you guys might disagree, and you're definitely free to disagree. Brendan says you guys should really look at Maguire's stats before actually judging his performance. Most people's opinions are quite clouded. I think sometimes you do need to remove your kind of I don't know. You've got to remove the idea of the player from the stats. You kind of have to look at them differently. You kind of have to look at them separately, I should say, because sometimes it can be clouded, sometimes, but at the same time, I think stats don't lie, but you could all, it depends what you think, I guess. Some say stats don't lie, and other people say stats are for prats. It's all about where you fall in that camp, really. Keep the comments kind, guys. Really do appreciate all the comments. I do apologise if I don't read yours out. I try to get around to everyone's comments, but yeah, please do keep them coming. And also, Daz says, like the stream. Cheers, Daz. I appreciate the little shout out. There. Also, make sure you check out Daz's Football Stand, as well as Rich Sports, and of course, YankTalkinSmack. His link's in the description down below if you want to check it out. But check out all the other channels as well. Really do like shouting out all content creators and everyone who makes stuff. So if you're someone who wants a shout out as well, please do let me know, and you can get a shout out, and we share the love. As I say. Daz says, I hear Owen doing work in the background. That's a pretty trained ear, Daz. You're absolutely spot on, but it's a pretty trained ear. I'm surprised you heard that. But anyway, Box says, Rich Sports captains, as we know it, are long gone, a thing of the past. Where is City's company? Chelsea's Terry or Lampard? Arsenal's Vieira? Yeah, I think obviously that's in response to Rich saying, what do you think would make a good captain? We don't really see those types of people anymore. Unless you guys can name me some players who do fit that sort of mould. The captains of old seem to have died out a little bit. But I think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting debate, because it's a good observation, because I don't think thinking about it off the top of my head, I can't name too many players that really do fit that mould anymore. So maybe football is changing in that respect. Just going to take a breath. Adam says, people who are saying Mbappe and Haaland era, guys, there's going to be players who no one is talking about now who are going to be world class and who are going to be challenging them. Obviously, people are going to be saying Haaland and Mbappe because they're the ones that are in your face. They're the ones that everyone sees on the Champions League stage. And you got to say they have been class, absolute class this season. But I think, I think you're right that there will be some players that no one's really talking about that will burst through. And I hope there is, because just to have two players going at it, you want more players to capture the imagination. Obviously, we kind of had the Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar era, and even though Neymar's still playing and he's still got a few years left, that era is kind of fading away a little bit. So you don't just want two players, in my opinion. You want a load of players to capture your imagination. I feel like, back in the 90s, even though I wasn't around, from what I hear, there's so many talents that back then, so many individuals that, captured the imaginations of all football fans, and there was an amazing crop of talent in the 90s and 80s. So hopefully we have the same thing where, the next period of football was a really rich period for just genuine quality. Naveen says Glazers won some American rugby trophy this season. They dare buy top class players, Ollie asks. I hope so, mate. Obviously won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, after bringing Tom Brady in actually for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, realistically, we know the Glazers. That sort of thing isn't going to happen to us. But I think it's one of those things where after a while you just get used to it. You just get used to it. Big Rom says Boxy isn't. If anything, Martial looked better than Haaland in this team because his hold-up play is far better. Martial would drop in deep and link play. All of Haaland's strengths would be gone. That's a fair point. I think it's an interesting debate you guys are having in the live chat, and I like it. I like these little debates, so keep them going. Owen says, yep, lol, got an assignment due Monday. All right, that's obviously Owen working. As I said, Daz, I'm impressed that you actually heard it. So if you guys can hear that, I think my mic's probably a bit too open, so I might have to change that for next week or next stream. So I do apologise, but hopefully you can hear me all right. Hopefully that's all good. Boxers Naveen, for all Martial FC nonsense, people act like he's Pele Messi. I don't know about that. I don't know if they act as if he's that good, but I don't know. It's an interesting debate. The Martial thing is obviously one which is kind of like Marmite. There's some people that hate him and there's some people that love him. I think it's one of those things in the fan base where he does divide opinion. There's no doubt about it. Naveen says, I'm not one for FC, just for saying Martial flop and all. Just appreciate at least what he's done for United. It's not terrible. I agree. You've got to say he's done amazingly for Manchester United, Manti Martial. Especially last season. If you look at last season, without his goals, we probably wouldn't have got top four. That hat-trick against Sheffield United. And, if we could see the sort of finishing we saw from Martial last season, then, he probably would have had more goals. But I agree that there are definitely some games where you have to say that we haven't created enough chances for him. And we haven't created enough chances full stop. Kobe says, who would you get for centre-back, CDM, right wing? Personally, I'd get Varane, Zakaria, Pedro Gonçalves. Those are decent shouts. Centre-back, centre-back, there's a few options. There's quite a few options. I don't think we're going to get Varane, to be honest. It'd be amazing if we did, but I just don't see us getting him. Some people are talking about, what's his name, the guy from Aston Villa, Ezri Konsa. Now, he doesn't look too bad for Aston Villa. It'll be interesting to see how he does at a top club, but Ezri Konsa, I've heard his name been floated around for centre back, but there's a lot of options. Obviously, when we do get into the transfer window, we'll talk a lot more about that. Rich says Martial and Haaland will have to start playing for better clubs before they start being compared to Ronaldo and Messi. That's fair enough. I think obviously they're just in a different league. Let's be honest, they're just in a completely different league. So it's very difficult to really compare anyone to those guys. And also, they don't really play the same position. Ronaldo and Messi both aren't number 9s. They're kind of wingers / kind of inside forwards, that sort of thing. So they're not really the same. So, it's hard to compare number 9s to those guys anyway. But I agree with what you're saying. Box says, why not give Tuanzebe a chance in the team? Obviously talking about who should bring in the centre-back. I mean, Tuanzebe, to be fair to him, I think he has been thrown under the bus a little bit by Solskjaer when in games we're bringing him on with like 2 minutes to go, and it's like there's no need to do that. There really is no need to do that. And obviously the biggest example was against Everton, gave away that free kick, and then obviously they scored from it, which a lot of people went and blamed and abused Tuanzebe, which I thought was absolutely disgusting, really, the sort of abuse he got. So I think he has thrown Tuanzebe a little bit under the bus in games, and actually when he started, he hasn't played too badly. I mean, the biggest example I can give was that game against PSG. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He kept Mbappe, Neymar, Di Maria all quiet. He played so well in that game, and I was thinking from then on maybe that was the emergence of Tuanzebe, but obviously Ole doesn't seem to trust him too much. He likes Lindelof instead, which again blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind, but he's just got to stick with it. So I think Tuanzebe, in terms of a centre-back partner for Harry Maguire, might not be the worst option going forward. But then again, obviously, when you've got someone like Eric Bailly in the team, it's very difficult for him to break into this defence. It's very, very difficult for him. So I think he will eventually. Either that or he will go on loan, because I think he's too good to be sitting in our bench and reserves. I really do. Adam says Amad will be in the discussion for a few years. Famous last words. Hey, I hope so, mate. I hope so. I hope they're not famous last words. And listen, if Amad Diallo can play like he did against AC Milan and score the goals that he did, that backwards header, man, it was just so much like Chicharito. It was so much like Hernandez against Stoke that time. I'm sure you guys remember that. But it was a fantastic finish, and I have really high hopes for him. And I think the best thing we can do as United fans is not heap too much pressure on his young shoulders. He's still only 18 years old, 2 years younger than me, which is still just ridiculous to even think about. But he is someone for the future, and we did spend £36 million on him, but he just doesn't need that pressure on his shoulders. He really, really doesn't. Ethan, thanks for joining. Ethan Benham, thanks for joining. Is that the new centre-back you want us to sign? Anyway, we'll carry on. Naveen says, Pepe at Porto is actually injury-free version of Bailly. Damn, what a defender. At 38, he is still levels ahead of so many defenders. Sometimes I love such defending. He was quality against Cristiano Ronaldo's Juventus. I mean, he was quality. Still at 38, he's an absolute warrior. But he's one of those players that is just a shithouse. I mean, no one likes Pepe. No one likes coming up against him. But if he plays for your team, you just love him to pieces. He's an absolute warrior. He'll die for your team. And, fair play to him. He's a little shithouse, and, he pisses off anyone who he comes up against. But you've got to say, fair play. He's kind of like Ramos in the same way, where, if you're coming up against Ramos, you just hate him. You just hate him. But, if he's on your team, it's a massive asset. It's a massive asset. Dazza said, did you hear about the paper shop in Cambridge? It blew away. Classic there. I'm not surprised. Dazza comes out with those corkers all the time. Naveen says Greenwood better improve and score. Otherwise, Joe Hugel and McNeil already pumping up in the academy for striker spot. True. I think Greenwood again. I think even though he had a decent season bursting onto the scene last season, we can't put too much pressure on Greenwood. I know he's got the Euros coming, and he'll know how important it is, especially with our forward options going into the Euros, how important it is for him to actually start performing to a high level. Because realistically, we've got some very strong options. If he doesn't do that, Southgate could leave him at home. Southgate, or not leave him at home, because the tournament might be held in England anyway. But you know what I mean. He might not be on the list. So I think for his sake, hopefully he starts hitting form. But I think we will see Greenwood up front tomorrow. We'll see Greenwood up front. But Eden says Pepe is better than Vidic. I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure about that. You're brave saying that on United channel. I can tell you that right now. I wouldn't agree with that in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Dazza says the police had all their toilets stolen the other day. Police say we've got nothing to go on. Classic. Keep them going, Daz. Keep them going. Adam says McNeil looks like our version of Haaland. Mate, if McNeil can be even as half as good as Erling Haaland is right now, we've got a player on our hands. I mean, if he can even be half as good as him, we've got a decent chance. Naveen also said, yes, defenders need to piss the players. That's how they strengthen the back line and shows leadership qualities. Well, exactly. You've got to say that if you're playing, well, you need shithouse in your team. That's what I'll say. We had Ander Herrera in our team. I think Bruno Fernandes is a little bit of a shithouse, to be fair. But the reason why he pisses people off is because he's actually a decent defender and he does anything to win. He's got that winner's mentality. Whereas realistically, we've got defenders who arguably don't have that winner's mentality. So that's one of the main reasons why you actually hate people, because realistically, you hate coming up against them more than you actually hate them as a player. Like Pepe, for example, he's probably one of the most hated footballers on the planet. But realistically, if he was in your team, he'd probably be one of your favourite players. He really would. Naveen says Ramos, Pepe, Vidic, same blood. Exactly. They're all cut from the same cloth, really. Box says Owen Coyle, no thanks. Obviously, Ethan there saying, what's your thoughts on Man United looking at the signing of 20-year-old Owen Coyle? Yeah, I mean, it'd be an out there purchase. I'm not sure he's worth the money, to be honest. I don't think he's worth it. Even on a free, I'm not sure it'd be worth it. All jokes aside. Mr. Bobba Django, thanks for joining as well. If I haven't shouted you out, Mr. Bobba Django, already, cheers for coming, mate. Appreciate it. As always, he says, Mings is better than Harry Maguire. It's an interesting take. I'm not sure if everyone would agree, because I know of some people that don't rate Tyrone Mings at all. But the way Harry Maguire plays in some games, it's debatable. It really is debatable. Adam says, only OGs remember when Kieran used to do watch-alongs. Listen, I can't do watch-alongs anymore because I just don't have access to to kind of actual live TV. I basically have to stream all the games I watch, so I'm not able to do watch-alongs. And anyway, there's so many people doing watch-alongs that there's no real point in doing them. I mean, let's be honest. There's so many people that are already doing watch-alongs that, what's the point? What's the point? I'm not saying anything bad about them. They're entitled to do it. But realistically, I'd be like the 100th Man United fan doing a watch-along. So I prefer just to sit there and watch the game just like normally. But, who knows in the future what could happen? Who knows in the future? Naveen goes with a 2-1 win. I like the sound of that, Naveen. I like the sound of it a lot. Ethan goes 4-1 Hammers. I don't like the sound of that at all. I don't like that. Yeah, if we lose 4-1, you've got to ask serious questions. But yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. But it's one of those things where I'm not going to underestimate West Ham at all. They're a decent team. They're fifth in the league for a reason. So that they do worry me slightly. They do definitely worry me slightly. Box says, if Maguire was more reckless and dabbed, would Man United fans rate him? Oh, listen. In the end of the day, I know that people have it in for Pogba a little bit, but I have to say, he's actually been alright this season. I have to disagree with you, Box, on that one. I love you, man. I love you, but I have to disagree with you on that one because Pogba this season hasn't actually been too bad. He's won us games this season. So if we're going on this season, then I don't think you can have too many bad words to say about him. But I can understand a little bit what you're saying, I guess. Mr. Boba Django also says, I've already said 2-0 West Ham, going to be a tough game with our injuries. I think it is. If you look at the team we're going to have to put out, it's not going to be easy. It really isn't. I mean, that front three of Diallo, Greenwood and Daniel James, I mean, realistically, that's the sort of front three that you expect maybe from a team in kind of 7th or 8th. Not a team, kind of challenging Man City for the league. And I know that Connor did say, and I loved his optimism, by the way. I loved it. But realistically, the idea that we're still in a title race with Man City, I just don't see it. But, I mean, I hope he's right. I hope I'm completely wide of the mark. I hope he's right. But the idea that we're going to get anywhere close to Man City, I just don't see it. I hope this gets clipped up, but I don't see it. But yeah, Rich goes with 2-0. That obviously reiterating Mr. Boba Django's prediction, actually. I'll give you my prediction. You know what? I'll give you my prediction because we're coming close to the end of the stream. And by the way, if you are watching, hit that like button if you haven't already. And also subscribe to the channel if you are new. And also, we had Connor on from YankTalkinSmack before. Make sure you check out his link in the description down below. Get him up to 30 subscribers if we can. Please do, if you haven't already. Make sure you do. get in the description and go check out his channel. Great stuff over there. And also check out all the other channels that we've mentioned. Dazzler's Football Stand, Rich Sports, all the channels we always mention on the channel. All good friends of the channel. So please do make sure you check them out. Naveen says, sorry, loads of comments coming in, I can't keep up. Naveen says, Rice and Souček will annoy us. I think they will. Souček for me is the biggest worry from set pieces. He scored against us at Upton Park, at the London Stadium earlier in the season. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again, to be honest. I would not be surprised because we are shocking from set pieces. And looking at that Milan game, there is no sign of it getting any better. There's absolutely no sign of it getting any better. So I hate to be all depressing about that, but I just don't think we're going to get any better at it. 2-1 says Rich. 2-1 to United. Again, I like the sound of that. Cody says there's more chance of Cambridge United getting promoted into the Prem than catching us. Yeah, I'll tell you what, they're top of the league right now, aren't they? Or are they second? I'm not sure. I think Cambridge are doing alright, if I'm not mistaken. But it's sad because it's true. It's sad because it's true. Adam says 2-1 United as well. Quite a few 2-1s. Quite a few 2-1s right now. Naveen says Ollie to the rescue as sub if it is allowed. I'm not sure actually. I don't think he's registered, but I'm not sure. Maybe. I tell you what, he might be better than what we've got. He could be better than what we've got. Looking at our goal scoring record this season. Ethan says, where are people allowed to join the stream? I won't be having people on this stream, but usually I put the link in the live chat and we just get people on. So I won't be having people on because we're about to wrap it up there very shortly. But if you guys do want to come on the stream, as usual, I always put the link in the live chat whilst I'm live, so anyone who wants to come on can. We had Connor on today as a guest, and I don't usually have people on as guests, so it was a kind of happy surprise, really, that Connor wanted to come on and be a guest, so I was very happy to oblige. So hopefully we get more guests on. I'm thinking actually maybe I should get more guests on from, the kind of opposing team, for example, getting a West Ham fan on tonight, but maybe in the future we can do that more, because I did do that in the past, so hopefully in the future I can get more people on from opposing teams. And Box goes 3-0 United, James, Maguire, McTominay. Them scoring will wind up the hips to the United fans. Listen, I hope so. 3-0 sounds lovely to me. Maguire scoring's a bit far-fetched, but I can see McTominay, and you know what? Daniel James is looking good right now. It would be beautiful to see Daniel James get his second Premier League goal of the season. Jamie's joining us. Jamie, thanks for joining. He puts irons in the chat. Can you guess what team he supports? Can you guess? But thanks for joining, Jamie. Great to see you, mate. Great to see you in the live chat. Great to see everyone in the live chat as well. He's going with a 2-0 win to West Ham United. I think actually we had that before from a United fan. So, to be fair, we've had one prediction from a West Ham fan, one prediction from a United fan. They're both the same. So that kind of shows what sort of mood the United fans are in going into this game. Mr. Baba Django said it's going to be 2-0 West Ham. So that shows not everyone's optimistic. Kobe says, starting to copy what Rich is doing. Listen, I did have guests on before. Before when I started this channel, I did have more guests on, and more people from opposing channels. And I've actually been on a few opposition channels and stuff. So I was just thinking maybe I should kind of get more people on from opposition channels. But, who knows? But I think it would add something to the stream. That's all I'm saying. I think it would add something. Ethan, calm down, Danny Dyer. Listen. He is a West Ham fan, isn't he? But Naveen also says James may be a Chelsea fan. I don't think Jamie is a Chelsea fan, to be honest with you, Naveen. I just have a feeling. That's all I'm saying. I just have a feeling. He also says Rice is better than McTominay. And on that bombshell, I think it might be time to end the stream. Or we're getting close to it anyway. I want to see the goal tally. I want to see stats that back that up. I want to see stats. But if you're asking me who I'd rather own my team right this second, it's close. I'm not lying to you. It's close. Rice has been good. I have to say that. Rice has been good. I'm going to have to back McTominay. But I can't deny Rice has been good. I'm not saying he hasn't. But I've got to back McTominay on this one. Mr. Baba Django agrees with Jamie. He says, agreed, Rice. Jamie, he can actually pass forward. Yeah, but how many goals he scored, Mr. Bobajango? How many goals he scored this season? Box says Kieran is a more polished version of Mark Goldridge. I wouldn't go that far. I would definitely not go that far, mate. I think the subscriber counts kind of show who's the better YouTuber. But listen, the fact that I'm even doing this stream is pretty well because he did it back in the day. He started off back in the day, and that's why a lot of channels are doing live streams. Let's be fair. Naveen says Scott McTominay second place in the Premier League. Listen, I'm not going to disagree with you, Naveen. I'm not going to disagree with you. That says more intellectual than Mark Goldridge. I don't know about that. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment. You can say that. I couldn't possibly comment. And finally, Kobe says, when are you going to start doing transfer news again? When the transfer window opens, to be honest. There's no point in me doing transfer streams if there's no transfer, or if there's no transfer news, or if there's no chance of any transfers actually happening. There's no point. So when the transfer window opens, I'll be back to doing that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Please do hit that like button if you aren't already. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Appreciate all the support. Make sure you check out Connor's channel as well in the link in the description down below. And also, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're only 2 subscribers away from 870 subscribers. So please do help us out with that in any way you can. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your evening, whatever you're doing with it. Please like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.